I imagine so, but nowadays you are overwhelming others who meet you. I think you're clearly one of the very best StarCraft 2 players right now, and that's no exaggeration. But you're also a very prolific one. You play in a very unconventional manner, and it's very entertaining to watch because one cannot really foresee it, and that's what that lights the spark kind of thing. And that reminds me about how StarCraft Brood War became such a huge Korean phenomenon in the early 2000s because there was a player, of course, Brood War veterans will know Lim Yo-wan, Slayer's Boxer, the Terran Emperor, who for a long time dominated the entire Korean scene. But he was not the first pro gamer by any means, and he wasn't the best always. But he was unique, and he had a very different style, and he made entertainment like none other out of this computer game, and managed to conquer not only titles but people's hearts. You play very unconventionally as well, and during your fights against Madfrog, you did some quite out of the ordinary things as well, like battle cruiser rushes and whatnot. Do you do your thing a bit extra, a bit more creatively for entertainment purposes now that you're a public player as such, or is it just the way you do it?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I want by no means to be compared with Slayer's Boxer because he's a legend, and I'm still a very small player. I only have been famous, if you want to call it like that, for a few months maybe, and there's still a long way for me to get at any level.
Of course. No, I'm not saying you're the new emperor yet, but I am saying that there's a similar entertainment factor, and that factor can help spread the game as an entertainment form for spectators more than just purely standard play from a viewer's point of view.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, I really appreciate that people think I'm playing in a entertaining way, but it's not like I'm playing it because I want to entertain. It's basically just what I do. I don't think I'm playing that creative, actually. It's everybody could build or do the builds I am doing. It's I don't know, it's kind of strange. It's just that compared to them, I simply do them.
Yeah, that is of course something you've been asked many times in many interviews. Why are you so creative? How do you do it? And it's quite a difficult question to answer, and I'm not gonna try to squeeze one out of you as such. But I would like to ask, creativity as such aside, in StarCraft you need to have solid play, a solid understanding of how things work. And if you know the standard principle, then you can start bend it and twist it and find other quicker ways to achieve the same results. That is unconventional play, one might argue. And you seem to be more adept than many others, at the very least, to find these shortcuts or alternative routes of getting into a position of advantage. And for that, you need to have a basic standard understanding of how things work. But in sort of real life, in other aspects of your personality, would you say that you also have a need, a behavior, a mindset that tries to find the unconventional way of solving problems or getting into a certain position? Is that the kind of person you are in other aspects of life as well?
Well, I don't know. I think I have a pretty standard approach to most things in life. But what I can tell you is that I really am a big dreamer. I think I have quite a vivid fantasy, and maybe that helps because it is easy for me to imagine things, even in StarCraft. When I'm lying down in bed, I often try to play games in my head, if that makes any sense, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm not playing an instrument or and I am not an artist or anything. It's I don't know. It's really comes down to gaming, I think.
Well, that's not bad at all, and I think an imaginary mindset can really help you play StarCraft, because it's the one who can sort of step out of the game as such and watch it from a battlecruiser's perspective, if you will, and to see the holes in the meta game and try to find solutions that aren't obvious, that can really progress and go ahead. And I mean, you need to have that basic understanding. The one that, for example, a player like Idra, Greg Fields, is the perfect example of. He wins because he is among the very best, if not the best, at optimizing the more obvious route. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory way, because that is very, very difficult to do. And most of us will have to squeeze an advantage out of a situation that isn't the standard one, because StarCraft 2, as StarCraft Brood War, is very challenging, and you have to have so many things up in the air at the same time. Do you see yourself spending more time working on your macro and optimizing, so to speak, standard ways of doing things now that you're a professional gamer and are training all day when you're not competing live and whatnot?
Yeah, I think it's everybody should have his main focus on getting his standard builds and his macro to a very good high level, because it doesn't really make sense to train creativity or, I don't know, maybe even cheesy builds, because that's not really something you can train, and it's not really that hard to do if you actually do it, and and you can only do maybe what people call creative builds if you have a very good mechanic as well, I think, because you can be as creative as you want if you can't really play the game at a high level. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's probably the main focus of my training. I think I play very different in tournaments than I do in ladder or in practice games in general.
I imagine so. And since pro gaming as a profession, it's not a new thing as such, but it's become a newer thing very recently with the release of StarCraft 2 and all the many possibilities that have suddenly erupted, and we'll talk more about that in a little while. But what can you tell us about your training regime and your professional outlook at things now that you truly are a professional gamer? How do you organize your work?
Well, I have to admit I'm still a little bit too unorganized. I'm trying to follow maybe strict training plan, but for now I'm still, kind of waking up randomly and start playing on very flexible hours. So I think that's really a point I still have to work on, because you can probably get to a lot better level if you organize your practice schedule in a professional way, as you put it.
Probably. I'm sure you'll find ways of doing that more easily. Of course, we have Korea and their established scene as the benchmark for how to do well. At least I would say that Koreans are not genetically more adept at playing StarCraft, but they are infrastructurally much more organized, and that really showed in their dominance in StarCraft Brood War compared to Westerners and non-Koreans. But now there has been a huge announcement that I'm sure everybody watching this will already be aware of, but we'll go through it again. GomTV, who back in 2009, before they closed down temporarily, they were the best provider of Korean StarCraft for the international community. They had several different fully employed English-speaking casters, and bilingual as well. The most famous one being, of course, Nick Tasteless Plots, the very renowned commentator who is still living in Korea, and others as well. And they had their own Korean league with matches and all the top players and huge prizes, and they were sponsored directly by Blizzard. And now they're back with StarCraft 2. And there will be a global international league with huge prizes and televised playoffs available for the international audience and everything. It's becoming global with the full support of Blizzard, and it's looking very promising, I must say. What is your view on that, Dario, and what are your hopes of achievement when it comes to the GSL?